Who thought of this topic first? You or Mark?
Jace.
It was Jace.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, Mark messaged me yesterday. He told me that he had an idea for a topic and that he thought it was important to share.
So in that sentence, who came up with the topic? Mark had an idea that he came up with a topic that he wanted, and now it's mine?
I told you Jason
just palmed it off.
This is the topic.
Yeah.
No, I did. Go reference what I said.
Should we be doing this podcast?
Yeah, okay. So
No, but it wasn't something I came up with. It was just, we were chatting one day. If it is the same one, if it's the Y one,
yeah,
we were just chatting and Mark's like, that's a good topic. But it wasn't something we thought about for.
No.
So
Okay.
know your why.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
this okay.
No, that
so to
is
start
true.
it
Now I
off,
remember.
Yeah.
so to hit it off, I want to know, after you messaged me yesterday and you said that this is a topic you thought would be good to bring up to the viewers, I want to know why it's important to
So
find
you
your
don't
why.
know your why then?
No, I want to know why it's important to find your why.
Okay.
I want to know
Why
your
it's
idea. I want to know your
important.
idea. Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
want
this
to pick
is
your brains here on this.
so this was I had a really good thought. Okay, so listen to this. So if you say like I want to find my passion or like my purpose, right? Like I watched a few videos on this and people are like, oh, you find your why and like then you find like your passion, right? And your purpose. And purpose is something that people sometimes think like, oh, I've made a lot of money, like I'm famous or I'm a pro athlete, right? And they feel the sense of purpose. That's like a sense of purpose, right? They're just sitting there and they're like, this is it. Like life has brought me to this place, right? And often what happens is like with a lot of people, I know there's lots of success stories where people have like recovered from this, but like if you get an injury, I know it's like that is a common one, but I mean, you're going to eventually have to retire from whatever that purpose was. Like your purpose could have been running an accounting firm, but like you're going to have to one day retire. And then you're stuck there thinking like, that was my purpose, I'm empty inside. And a lot of people die feeling that emptiness, like the good old days, you know what I mean? That's why people reference that. But like, if you have your why, and you know your why the whole time, like I'm training to be a pro athlete, the whole time your why stays the same. I want to influence people. I want to motivate people. I want to inspire people. Like that's your why, right? And then if that injury happens or if the time comes when you retire, you're 34 years old, you're no longer a pro NFL player.
You're not left feeling empty.
You're not left feeling empty because your why then carries over to whatever you do next. Completely carries over. Like you'll then motivate, inspire through whatever you do next, and you're using your platform to motivate and inspire. And like that why could be just as small as like, I don't know, picking up litter on the beach. Like you know your why as to why you're going out and changing the world that way, but that why will always carry over into whatever you do.
Nice.
So that's for me.
Nice, that's really good, bro.
The
I never
importance
ever
of-
looked at it that way, but that's so good. You know?
Finding the why instead of just this is my purpose. You know what I mean?
Would you say then that the why is value based and not outcome based?
Yeah, it's value based, and that will carry. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Like, your outcome based will always be your situation. Like if you are just focusing on outcome based, outcome always changes. Whereas your why doesn't have to change. You're doing things for a greater purpose. Yeah, and that goes back to what we said in our podcast, in the previous podcast, is like your why. Like, yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Well, you said enough there. That was really good, bro.
Yeah,
I've
I
never
forgot
ever
I was
looked
gonna
at it that way.
reference it.
No, that was very good. Jace,
Yeah.
Jace, what is your response to that? I want to hear what yours. Do you said that it's
I know
value
he's
based.
probably got a completely different way of thinking.
No, I agree with the fact that it's values and not outcomes, because outcomes are tangible or should be reachable, and as Mark said, they change based on your situation. Values aren't. Values, you should have a value structure that is constant, no matter where you are, no matter what you go through. That should be the core essence of who you are. And so if you maintain that, it's essentially knowing yourself. If you maintain that, you can go anywhere in life and you will still be you. You won't be swayed by friends who are doing the wrong things or by failures or by stress or by pressure. It will still be you. I mean, you might react to it slightly differently, but at the end of the day, it's going to be who you are. And what's so important about knowing your why is also understanding why not. It's a converse thing, but it's so important as well, because that dictates why you don't do things. So why don't you go spend your money frivolously? Why don't you?
My mind's blown.
Yeah. because the why nots are the sacrifices that you make.
That's very interesting. So your whys should be just as important as your why nots.
But your why nots are structured off your why. So you can say, like, for example, you don't want to go out this weekend and spend money, right?
But that comes down to why.
Be-
Yeah,
because
you have to have a why.
Yeah, because your purpose is to change the world or do something vitally important. Maybe it's to be there for your family. So that's why you don't go out this weekend. That understanding of the why is the cause of the why not. But if you don't have a why not and you just say, oh, I don't want to go out, enough push, and you'll give in. You're not steadfast.
Finding your why is also, I was saying to Mike, it's such a personal experience for everybody. And I think that it is important to find it, mainly because I've experienced that in whether it's starting a business, whatever it is, you're going to be faced with so much shit. There is so much shit that is just going to fall on your head. Just when you think things are going great, it's going to get harder. That's how it goes. And when you understand your why, that's going to pull you through all of those times. It's going to pull you through those times of doubt and all that, because you're bound to have it in anything that you do.
Yeah.
And you are faced with problems daily. Being an entrepreneur is being a problem solver. You're faced with problems, you got to solve them. Knowing your why, when your head's just feeling scrambled and you don't feel like getting up in the morning, your why is going to get you up at 5 in the morning, And I think that's important.
It's also, so I was telling someone, basically just running through what was happening in my life the other day, all the things that we're doing, both positive and negative, all the culminations of everything that's being thrown upon us. So from the business aspect to starting the podcast and everything along those lines. And they said, be careful not to burn yourself out. You don't want to try and do everything and then nothing gets done, essentially. And it's very true. People try to do that. They try to cast such a wide net and then catch nothing because they're not going deep enough into the ocean to get the fish. And if you know your why, that's not a problem. I said this to Mark, is that if you know your why, then you can structure all of your activities, all of your
Based
emotions
around that.
in a hierarchical structure based on your values. What is most important? Because then when your energy levels do dip, you know exactly what you can pull away from because that's not your why. So they're there for now. It's nice in the moment, but it's not your why. So if something needs to get given away, you know exactly what's going to get pulled away. If you don't know your why and you've got all this going on, you're still trying to grasp at straws at everything. And then you're going to fall flat and never reach any peak.
But I think it's also not sitting down and saying to yourself, I need to figure out my why. What is my why? It takes going through those experiences
to know why.
To understand.
Sometimes you need to go
is.
through it first.
100%. Yeah. You can't just sit down and say, okay, I've got it.
I need to know my why today.
Yeah.
No, sometimes your why gets built through what you're trying to achieve.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Not for all people, but for some that definitely happens.
Yeah. Some people might sit down, watch one motivational video and suddenly know their why and it'll change their life. It does happen. Like it does happen. But some people it goes through like being told like I need to actually sit down and think about my why and that could change them forever. Yeah.
So
actually I wanted to ask you something quickly.
Yeah.
Is like if you had to say how would you find your why? How have you found your why?
I think kind of what I was going to say. For me, and it might not be the same for everyone, but
no, definitely
I think you reveal your why more in hardship than you do in luxury. Because when you're having an enjoyable experience, when things are going well, it's easy to be happy. It's easy to enjoy something.
Your why.
But also, it's a false perception of why. Because you think, this is making me feel so good inside.
This
of
is
course
my why.
it is.
Yeah.
It's happiness. Maybe your business is making lots of money and you suddenly don't have the stresses of life and that making you feel a bit more happy. And you think, this must be my why.
So you could have a different why when you're at the top than your why at the bottom.
But I think your whys at the bottom are far more important. So
they are the pillars that are you.
They've got substance to it.
Yeah.
So I was toying with this quote the other day. I still quite haven't fleshed it out fully, but it's something along the lines of people that don't require light to see their path will never be lost. So if you do not require the good times to know your why, you'll never be swayed from your why.
Yeah.
If you can, in the hardest of situations, still make the decision to do something,
the same path,
you're going to get there.
Yeah.
It's the people that, if you don't have that, when a light shines up in the distance,
Takes you right off your path.
exactly,
Yeah.
you're veering off because you're seeing light.
Yeah.
It's not your path, but you're just seeing light and thinking, I'll go to that. I'll
Well,
go
how
to
many
that.
good things do you turn down? How many good things? I know you guys well, but
Mm.
I mean, for everyone else, like I know you guys so well. And how many good things you turn down,
Mm.
knowing that your goal is on this path, and that is nowhere near your path.
Mm.
I mean, you need money at a certain point, and you get offered a job that is probably something people would study for years for and aim for.
Mm.
And you know that you'd rather tell that boss that I'm sorry if I actually want this, like if something starts happening down this path, I'm gonna have to quit. I can't commit to that. And you tell them straight up. And most people would kill for that job for
Yeah.
secure pay and everything, and you'd rather rough it out knowing that this path is exactly what you want and it's what you've been working for. And yet you'd rather just eat tuna and rice for the next 6 months knowing that that's going to get you closer to your goal
Yeah.
than working for them ever will, even though that means driving your dream car and doing everything you ever wished for.
Yeah, it's the sacrifices you have to make, and I think what's so important is just to also, it's very cliche, but be present within your day in the sense that justify your actions to yourself, but be honest. So for me, finding my why, what reinforces it, is at the end of each day, I sort of run through everything that I've done in that day.
You were saying this to me, how you question everything you do.
And
Like question why you do it, and does it align with the value system that you have in mind for,
yeah.
you know?
So I mean, there's things that are negative that I do in my day. I mean, we all do it. We procrastinate, or we say things we don't mean, or maybe we told a white lie, anything like that. And I'll lie in bed and I'll say, why did I do that? Did it benefit me? Was it going somewhere? Or was it just in the moment? Because I need to be conscious of it. Even if they're negatives and I have a reason for it, at least I've admitted that it was a negative,
Yeah.
you know? And that builds your why. Because now you're honest with yourself.
But that is just comes down to exactly what we talk about all the time, self-awareness and
That's
journaling.
it's
And like
such-
that, at the end of your day, to do that is like, I know he's a lot more, I don't know, structured than I am, but journaling for me is like, you can probably go through it in your head and it's the same thing. Like for me, once it's on paper, it's like made it real. And it doesn't always have to be the negatives. Like sometimes you do something good and only when you take it down and write it on paper do you realize like it was self-sabotage. You know what I mean? And it felt good and it was good, but who was the one who lost? It was you. And it was done for someone else. You know what I mean? And it takes writing down, but at the end of the day, sometimes you feel so good and you'll go do that over and over and over and drives you down the hill. But in fact, like all you had to do was write it down and realize, shit, like that was sending me in the wrong direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yet it was making you feel good at the end of each day. So sometimes like self-reflection and at the end of each day, I rate is one of the most important things you can do.
Yeah, for somebody trying to find their why, I think they're going to go through the process of, at first, their why is going to be very shallow because they haven't put any thoughts into it.
That is true.
It's going to be very shallow, like, okay, well, I'm doing this because it can create me financial freedom. And then, okay, well, that's not good enough because once you got that, then what you're going to do? You know, like we were saying the other day. So it's going to start off very shallow. And then I think what you have to do is you're going to have to put yourself into a very vulnerable space, whether you're journaling or whether you're having a conversation with yourself or somebody else. Put yourself into a very vulnerable space where you can start answering that why honestly, because it is going to be surface level shit in the beginning.
Yeah.
Until you dive deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper.
I read, this reminded me, this is one of the things I read, was it starts with survival. Like your why is survival. And then it goes to purpose.
Yeah.
Does it? No. It goes to daily benefits, right? So then it's a plus. Then it's freedom. And then it's purpose.
Yeah.
So you have to go through those four to get to purpose. So your why actually is everywhere. It's throughout life. But it's finding the why that gets you your purpose.
I mean, you could take this very theoretically. So most people in South African schools would have been taught, if they took business or anything along the lines of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is a motivational structure. And all it is, it's a pyramid, and it has the base level, and obviously you can only progress to the next once you've completed the bottom. Same as a pyramid, you can't half-ass it in the middle. It's going to fall. And the base level is your security, or sorry, your food and water, just survival, as you said. And the top level is self-actualization. But it's also so important to understand that someone that can't eat or can't do that, that's just trying to focus on survival, can never fully understand their why, because How can you understand my deepest why
If
I
all
can't?
you're trying to do is survive.
It's just trying to eat and
Yeah.
trying to make it through the end of your
Mm.
day. But at that same point, once you have started to reach those things where, okay, I can put food on the table, food is no longer a worry. Now it's time to start looking at how can I better myself? How can I find my why? How can I use this time more appropriately to benefit myself up the
Well,
hierarchy?
first, you're trying to provide a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to send your kid to the best school,
Mm.
and that's all you can focus
Mm.
on. Or you're trying to get your wife her dream car, or that sort of
Mm.
thing. Once you get freedom, I think that's when you start thinking about everything
Yeah.
else. Once you have that little bit of freedom, because at night, when all you're trying to do is get to the next place, like, you've just been struggling for food, you've just been struggling to pay rent, and now suddenly rent came easy. Food is just a swipe of the card, but now you're aiming for like a bit of luxury. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you're aiming for that dream car. I think you have to get to your freedom. That's why I think younger kids these days are finding this self-awareness a lot younger, because parents give them that bit of freedom as they're growing up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They give them that time to think. That's what like we can be grateful for, is that we weren't like 16 and having to flippin'
Yeah.
do what our parents had to do at 16, you know what I mean? Which was like, get a job right now. You don't have time to think, like, you got to pay for a house by 20. And like, we got that time to think and have these conversations with our friends. Whereas in the past, I think there was a lot more, it was a lot difficult.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what we do. We need to be grateful for the opportunities that we have been given, but also to understand that the lessons learned through those hardships. This is another thing that I find so vitally important, is to not look down on someone. So for me, I don't like looking at someone with pity. I look at them with such, what's the word I'm looking for? Admiration. Someone that's in a dark place, you know? People that are, to me, the most amazing people are people that are going through the hardest times and are still moving forward. So some people might look at someone, for example, that is dependent on drugs and be like, can't believe it, like, shame. I look at that person that's still dependent on that,
They still have potential
That's-
to be even greater than you could have ever been.
and if they can get through that and they focus on their why and they cling on to that, far more amazing to me than the person that had all the luxury throughout life
And they made it a bit bigger.
and it was
Yeah.
just there.
Yeah.
Because this guy had to find his why in the darkest
place.
times.
Yeah.
And that's true. That's his true why. That's revealing
You
yourself.
can't get any truer.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
can't lie at that point. This is all that's left.
You guys are very right. Finding your why, also like you say, in the darkest time is going to have a lot more substance to it, you know, than finding it in the better times.
It's
and
more ingrained in that guy
it's
forever.
going to stick.
Yeah,
It will stick.
it's gonna stick.
Yeah, the rest won't. And you're going to need it to stick because, well, life's a hell of a ride.
But it is. It's that thing that keeps you going. I mean, people ask. I mean, I'm sure they've asked you guys. You know, why do you do this stuff? Why do you still do that or still do this? Like, I don't understand. And you can't give them a tangible answer that they want to hear. Like, oh, it's for this money or it's for that. It's something more than. It's something like, for me at least.
It's a feeling. It's a feeling that like I feel
But
a
I
lot
think
of our whys are for. It's because we chasing. It's nothing monetary. It really is a feeling of liberation or feeling gratified about something that we've done. You know, we're chasing a feeling there rather than something tangible.
So I actually had a thought today while thinking about this, which was passion, right? And if you, like, for me, I didn't know what my passion was. And so I started trying everything. And then I realized my passion is trying everything. Like, that is my passion, is give everything 100%, and then you'll only know. Sometimes you don't know if you enjoy something until you've given it your all. Then you know you either fucking hate it because you wasted 100% of your time on it,
Yeah.
or you love it. Like, you guys know, I have to go all in. And then, like, either I'll lose and hate every second and tell you it's the biggest waste of time, but I'd hate to know in 10 years I could have given it 50% more and enjoyed it. And I think for me, that is where my why comes in, is like through passion. Like, you got to find that passion. My passion is trying everything and putting my all into stuff. Start a podcast, do this, do that, like, try everything. And like, that is the passion, is always moving, like, always changing, always trying something else. And like, yours is pretty much the same. Like, you got to try everything. Like imagine leaving this earth and you could have tried more of what it has to offer. You know what I mean? That I think that would be my why, is do it all.
I think that's why we said in the last episode, in terms of the type of people that we want to bring onto this podcast at some point, is the people that are still working their way up. And I think why it's so interesting to bring those people on in terms of knowing your why is once you've made it, whether that was your why or wasn't, it is now.
Yeah.
And you'll tell people it is.
It's exactly what you said earlier.
But people that are building their way up, they'll tell you
they've got a very straightforward why.
If they're still on that path, they've got it.
If they're on the path and it's working.
Exactly. And that's the value that you can add.
And so that is what we want to do.
But if you haven't found your why, don't lie to yourself or anybody else and say, well, this is what I feel my why is. Like, no one's forcing you to have a why. We just want you to figure it out. We would just we'd like you to figure it out.
Be more self-aware.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to know it now.
No, you don't.
It doesn't mean you're on the wrong path either.
Exactly, because if you lie to yourself and say, well, this is my why, then you're definitely on the wrong path.
Oh, yeah.
But what I mentioned earlier was, if you carry on doing what you enjoy, you're going to find your why. You're bound to find it. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
If you're doing what you don't enjoy, you will never know what your why is. Yeah.
So
that's
start
where
with
this
what
whole
you enjoy.
Yeah. And we're lucky these days because your passion can make you money. Anything. Fucking whatever you feel like.
Unfortunately, funny you say that. So older people, they have this saying that passion doesn't pay. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
But nowadays you can monetize it.
Oh, you can monetize anything.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. So don't feel afraid to.
Yeah.
Even if it's something that whether it's your parents or your friends say that, well, that can't be it. Just do it anyway, because nowadays you can definitely monetize your passions.
Without a doubt. And I think that's where true freedom does come in as well. Because if it is not your passion and it's monetization, you tie to that. Because once you have overhead, you tie it in. If it's your passion and then it starts bringing monetary reward, now you know true freedom.
Yeah.
And
the money that comes from passion is so much more than the money that comes from trying to make money.
Yeah.
It's a lot more. Unless your passion is making money. Then it's different.
Yeah. And if you have a 9 to 5 and you feel that your why isn't involved in that 9 to 5, then identify it, sit back, identify it, and then answer the question to yourself. Well, what am I going to do about it? Okay, well, when I get home from 5, 5 and I've sorted my life out, 6 o'clock, I'm going to sit down and, like you say, write it down. Start with what it is that you do enjoy, and that will fall into that process of that why,
And why. And why you enjoy it.
Yeah. And also be honest. And if you are honest, don't be ashamed. There's people that have whys that their friends might look at. You don't know what the hell you're doing. That is incredibly odd. I mean, we had this whole conversation once upon a time about people that enjoy maybe playing role-playing games, but like live action role-playing games.
Oh yeah, we were talking about Dungeons and Dragons.
And,
we had very different opinions.
We had, very different
But
opinions.
it does always come to a point where we agree.
It's just, I mean, if that is your why, and I know that's a very superficial why, but roll with it. Yeah. Like it's yours.
It's for you and nobody else. You don't need anybody's input as to
and you're
whether
bound
or not
to
your why is worth it.
bound to find, if you are committed and you are open about it, you're bound to find people that enjoy the same.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some very absurd whys out there.
Unless your why is doing, I don't know if you guys ever saw that one girl on TikTok that used to lick airplane toilet seats. If that's your why, stop it. Like you're done. You've done it. You've done it once. You know your why. You can end it.
You're done.
You're done. Yeah. There's nothing more to be found.
Don't lick any toilet seats, people.